Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jonathan Coppell. I'm president of Montclair State University. And I'll start my filibuster in a few minutes, but before we do that, we're going to get started exactly the way we should with the choir from Rosa Parks High School to get us going with our national anthem. So I ask the choir to come up and...
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light one so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
How many people wanted to shout play ball yesterday? That was absolutely fantastic. And I think we have some recruits for our world-class choral program at Montclair State University, right over here in the front row. So it is a great occasion to gather, a great day for Hinchliffe Stadium, a great day for Montclair State University, and in some ways I'm most excited, a great day for Paterson, Paterson, New Jersey. I think a lot of us have been anticipating this, but here is the moment when we officially open the Charles J. Muth Museum of Hinchliffe Stadium. An amazing and underappreciated place. As many of you know, as we celebrate it as one of the few existing homes of Negro League Baseball, that it also is important as a centerpiece of Paterson life across generations, and we celebrate both with the museum. This has been something that's been a joy to behold, to watch the revitalization of this stadium, and I don't want to go any further without calling out Baye Adolfo Wilson.
Yeah.
Where's Baye? We'll hear from Baye, but Baye and the BAW team did extraordinary work, and we were privileged to join this incredible initiative while it was already underway. But the chance to create a community-engaged learning museum where all people in Paterson, and I particularly think of young people, will have an opportunity to really get to know the legacy of this city and to embrace not just that as a historical fact, but as a contemporary reality of which they should be enormously proud. And so I see this museum as in some ways bringing Hinchliffe to life for today's children, right, and for future generations. It's not just about the past, it's about the current and it's about the future. So we couldn't be more thrilled that our city superintendent of schools, Lori Newell, is here. Where did she go? I'm happy to be excited that the superintendent, in addition to being a partner with Montclair State University on so much that we're doing with the schools, might be a Montclair State University, will be a Montclair State University mom. I certainly hope that everybody has a chance not just to be here for the ceremony, but take a few minutes to go upstairs to see the museum. Just getting started, but our museum director Jessica, where did Jessica Bush go? Jessica Bush has done an amazing job getting things started already, gathering artifacts from the community. I have a feeling that when word gets out, we're going to get an outpouring of treasures that people have been saving in their basements, attics, storage units, whatever, for the day when this moment came. And so we're looking forward to it. And I know actually in the crowd are many people who contributed part of their own family legacy to be part of the museum. And boy, that says a great deal. Let me just take a moment to talk about what this means to the university, because some people have said to me, you know, why does Montclair State University have anything to do with a museum in Paterson, and why would you encourage an alumnus who's generous enough to give money to the university to do something not physically at the university campus? And it's an important question, because it implies that this is a distraction from our core purpose, or that this is somehow other. But we're here at the Muth Museum, and this is an exemplification, from my point of view, of what it means for a university to embrace its mission as a public serving institution. Why do I say a public serving institution? Because people say, well, it's a public university, and what do they think that means? They think it means, well, we get some money from the state. By the way, a declining share of our rapidly declining share of our budget, but no joke, less than a quarter of our budget comes from the state. And the reason why I say that is not to mention that if you want to talk to your state legislators as we enter the budget season, it's an appropriate thing to do. Assemblyman Wimberly is sitting right here. He's eager to get your thoughts on funding of Montclair State University. But the reason why I mention that is because that has nothing to do with our mission. We exist to serve the public interest. That is our core purpose. And yes, we do that by educating students, and we're proud to be one of the most accessible, inclusive universities in New Jersey, with the best results in terms of the outcomes for our majority-minority student population. We're enormously proud of that, and we are enormously proud that the experience that we offer is second to none. As a R2 research university, and one that's quality is improving even as we get bigger, even as we get more diverse, right? Putting an absolute end to any myth that says you can't be both diverse and excellent, that as you embrace the full population of society, you inevitably lower standards. That's all a lie and an insult, right? And we're enormously proud that we are showing that lie. But it's not enough if we don't at the same time use the resources of the university, the talent, the capacity, the creativity, and turn it outward to help our communities be everything that they can be. That's what it means to be a public serving institution. And so even from the first, before I even got here, and I was learning about the community, and I learned about Paterson, which I honestly didn't know that much about. I had read Paterson by William Carlos Williams when I was in, and that was kind of the extent of it. And I started to understand just what a gem Montclair State University had the privilege to be next to, with so much opportunity and so much potential, including this stadium. I said, this has to be a place where Montclair State University shows what a university can do. And so, in addition to this project, we're so excited with the work that's going on at Eastside High School and our 1 Square Mile project, and many other projects around the city that engage literally every part of our university and create learning opportunities for students across the university, and working with many partners, including, I see Eddie Feliciano, who's a Pattersonian through and through and dedicated to the community and a great partner to the university. This museum shows what can be possible. And so yes, it's a museum and you're going to see artifacts, but we're excited about building a learning program, as I said, that will engage students. And not just students in Paterson, our own students from Montclair State University will be a part of this. They will be part of working with Paterson schools. They will be part of working with Jessica to build a collection. They will be integral to this, and they will learn while doing. And so it's not an either or. It's a how do we serve while enhancing our learning and educational mission. And it's only possible because of the collaboration with the city, with the schools, with private organizations. And so could not be more excited, and it wouldn't be possible for us to be here without Chuck Muth and his wife Laura, who made a decision to use the treasure accumulated from a life of accomplishment to advance Patterson and Montclair State University together. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it moves me to make these remarks, because there are a lot of things that people can do with the money that they earn over a successful career. And what a career, right? Chuck starts off as a root salesman for Coca-Cola, works his way up through the company, retired, sort of semi-successfully retired as chief growth officer from Beyond Meat. Shows everything that's possible when people have opportunities and take advantage of them, and then have a little smarts and a little talent, but chooses to use that success to advance others. And I remember the first time we walked around here when this was a construction site, and we were walking around on the field, and Chuck points up to school number 5 and says, you know, that was where the journey started. And now I think kids who go to school number 5 are going to come to the Chuck Muth Museum. And they'll think about what's possible, right? And they'll see the name. What a great sign on the outside of that. But they'll see that name, and somebody will say, you know, that guy who went up to earn enough money to do this, he was sitting in the very classroom you're in today. And so if he can do that, so can you. And so that to me is what this is about, and it's what Chuck's investment means. And this isn't the only investment. He's been a longtime contributor to the Feliciano School of Business, and Chuck and Laura are 100% dedicated to Montclair State University, and I'm just thrilled. I'm just thrilled by this. And before I turn it over to Chuck to say a few words, I want to reassure everybody here that Mayor Andre Sayegh, who's an incredible partner, had nothing to do with planning this program. So for those of you who are at the ribbon cutting for this stadium, that means you will be seeing your families again. You don't have to worry about whether you used the bathroom before we started. You're safe. But in all seriousness, I see the revitalization of Hinchliffe, the opening of this museum, as part of this incredibly exciting moment for Patterson. The mayor's energy, his enthusiasm, he will rightfully call out council members and so many others who make this possible, but it's been a privilege to work with the mayor on this and other projects, and I know Chuck's enthusiasm for this is partially because he sees what Patterson is becoming, right before our eyes. And so I'm delighted to turn it over to a great Pattersonian, a great Red Hawk, my friend Chuck Muth.
Thank you, Dr. Capel. Appreciate it. Since they put me between two of the best speakers I know, Dr. Capel and Mayor on. I wanted to begin by telling a story. I grew up only a few blocks away, as Dr. Capel mentioned. I went to school, 5 C's here, and I grew up on Redwood Avenue. And when I was growing up, that small community was my micro community. That was my world. That's the world that I knew. And we had lots of friends in that neighborhood. And we owned our own house. We had which wasn't always common in the neighborhood, but we owned a house that had 3 bedrooms, 1 bath for 5 people. But we also had something else. In a small backyard, we had a 4-foot above ground swimming pool. And the entire neighborhood used to come, all the kids in the neighborhood used to come and hang out with that 4 foot above ground swimming pool yard. And one day, when I was a very naive young boy, I went up to my father and said, "Dad, are we rich?" Yeah, and needless to say, he didn't give me the answer I was looking for. Very disappointed and disappointed. And I also want to point out there was another 4 foot above ground pool in our neighborhood. It belonged to the McNamee family, of which 2 of whom are here today, Kevin and Chuck. And I thought they were rich too. But if I reflect back on that time, you know, in a lot of ways, we were rich. My brothers and I, we really hit the parent lottery because, you know, my mom, who's here today, Madeline, who's a school nurse here in Patterson for many, many years in the Patterson school system, born and raised and educated here, as well as my dad, who never finished high school, went to Central. You know, we're amazing parents who encouraged my brothers and I to everything that Dr. Capel said, that anything is possible if you work really hard for it, you dedicate yourself to improving your situation, and if you go on and get a good education. Even though neither one of them went on to college, and I became the first in our family to graduate from 4-year college, they encouraged us from the very beginning to go to college. And by the way, that wasn't, again, necessarily common in our neighborhood. Many of the friends of mine who did not go on to college. I also want to recognize my brother who's here today, who, by the way, is also, as myself, has gone to schools here. He actually was the chief of probation for Passaic County for many years, downtown Patterson, so he also is virtual in Patterson. I have another brother, Randy, who has a PhD in organic chemistry. So again, that wasn't by accident, it was by having amazing parents. When I think about how I got to where I am today, and it really started very humbly, but it really begins, I think, in my neighborhood. I grew up in a very tight neighborhood. I am friends, many of the kids I grew up with are here today, quite a number of them. We still keep together quite a bit. I've known them for over 60 years. We're a tight group. We've gone different ways in our life, but we're still a very tight group. I grew up in a terrific neighborhood. And I was educated very well. When I think about my foundation, it begins with my education here in Patterson, as Dr. Capel mentioned. I went to school we called it 5Gs, by the way. I don't think anybody went to school here, but called it 5Gs. I went there for 8 years, and then later went on to John F. Kennedy High School, where I got a first-class education in the city of Patterson that enabled me to move forward. And then I went on to, yes. And then I went on to, fortunately, I was accepted into Montclair State University and went there for 4 years, earning a business degree. Had a wonderful experience at Montclair State. Again, got a first-class education at the university. It was a college when I was there. And that was a turning point for me too, because I went from a young boy to a young man coming out of school. It was really a maturation during those 4 years. Then when I think about my job history, Dr. Capel mentioned I started as a route driver. I really started when I was 14 years old, delivering the morning call in Patterson for a couple of years. I had quite a big route that I think I heard from Kevin over here. And then when I became 16 years old, I was actually able to get a real job, and I worked for Pantry Pride Supermarkets, if anybody remembers that, right over on McLean Boulevard, not McLean Boulevard, on Chamberlain Ave in West Broadway. And I worked there all through high school and college. I worked through my 4 years of college, stayed home and commuted to that college. And then when I graduated from the university, I got a job driving a route truck at Coca-Cola. And you know, I always say, people say, how did you go from route driver to when I left here as a senior vice president? I said, well, very simple. Every job I did it with purpose. I didn't think ahead, I made sure I was going to be the best at that job, and that ultimately led to further promotions and movements up in the organization. So that's basically my career. Now, Patterson, as we know it, has always been an immigration city. My personal roots go back to 1850 when Valentin Muth immigrated here to Patterson, New Jersey, and worked in the Silk Mills, like many others. Now, that immigration continued over the years. It has changed. You know, maybe it went from German to Irish to Italian to Puerto Rican to Arab, Middle Eastern, African Americans in the city came up from the South. You have today Dominicans. It's always been this incredible, diverse community here in Patterson. So in 1932, when they built this stadium here, this became a cultural venue in the city of Patterson And it really served to bring these different cultures together. It was like that when I was here, and it was certainly like that before I got here, and hopefully it'll be like that going forward. And whether you came from any of the places that I mentioned or other places, you came here to participate in school sports, watch fall sports, participate in graduation ceremonies, field days, things that I remember, like the ninja car you saw inside. If anybody gets inside here to see it, I remember that. My favorite, though, was the demolition derby, which we don't have any of those cars here. Those cars didn't survive, so they're not here today. But they had fireworks here, they had concerts here, they had boxing here. But you know what I don't remember? I don't remember the Negro League history at the stadium, because it didn't exist when I grew up. That was in the 30s and 40s. That wasn't a factor when I was in the 60s and 70s. So I didn't know that. So this museum, as we think about what we're doing here, my desire for this museum is that it will help, with the help of the Patterson school system, the mayor, the city, IA, and most importantly, Montclair State University, will help generate new generations of students and kids, people, all people, in fact, discover the full history of Hinchliffe Stadium and its importance and the role of bringing the rest together in the city of Patterson. Why am I doing it? Again, I've talked about the foundation of my career. I pay my debts. I have a debt to the city of Patterson. I have a debt to Montclair State. Something I was going to talk about is my sincere desire that many people in the area who no longer live in the city have that same debt, whose roots came here, whose generations of parents and great-parents and great-grandparents worked here, and it's on their shoulders that I stand, and certainly on theirs as well. So hopefully that'll be good going forward. And even if people come to visit the stadiums and come see the things in the city, that's going to be a help. So in closing, I do want to thank everyone for coming here today. In particular, I want to thank my wife, Laura, who is a partner in life and also a partner in investment here in the city. She went to Notre Dame, but I told her before you give a penny to Notre Dame, I'm giving all of her money. They don't need any more money. I also want to recognize my mom, as I said earlier, and my brother. Look over to my right, you'll see my daughter Melissa and her husband Brandon, and my cute little granddaughter Tyler, and my grandson Luke. And I want to thank also, everyone who's been involved in this, IA and the developer, Mayor Andre for your vision and leadership to make this happen, Montclair State University Board of Education. Jessica, thank you for coming on board. We really needed you, and we're really happy with what you're doing. Thank you. And really, this is just a wonderful thing and a wonderful event, and I want to thank her for being here today. And with that, I want to introduce someone who I'm a major fan of. Not only is a great mayor, but a major, loves the Mets, and I'm a big Mets fan. Gotta go with you, Andre, and the Mets. But honestly, Andre's vision, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe in what the city of Patterson was doing, and a lot of that came through what you've done, Andre, here. So thank you so much, and I'm an honor.
So unlike the Hinchliffe Stadium ceremony, I'm just going to say, I'm Andre Saya, and I approve that message. Thank you. Speaking of which, it was alluded to earlier, yes, it was 5 hours of your life that you'll never get back in 2019. And on that day, we had a lot of celebrities. One that really stood out was Whoopi Goldberg. Yes, you can applaud for her. Please, you watch The View. And someone on my way here asked, are you going to have any celebrities today? And I said, well, Whoopi's not available. But, unbeknownst to many of you, we do have a celebrity within our midst. We're so honored that Keanu Reeves has joined us today. Stand up, Keanu. Look at Keanu right here. Keanu Reeves. We call him the Montclair State Matrix. Thank you, Keanu. This is a story I've never shared in public before. I almost went to Montclair State University. Almost. What happened was, I was dating a young lady. We just got accepted together into the school. And the day before we were ready to enroll for Montclair State University, she broke up with me. So I decided to go to Seton Hall University. But if Dr. Jonathan Gopel's the president, I probably would have gone to MSU, but I'm a proud Pirate. They just won the NIT. But I'm also a proud Pattersonian. Are there any other proud Pattersonians in the audience today? Chuck Muth is a proud Pattersonian. And I'm going to go as far as saying he's a real MVP. A most valuable Pattersonian. You're a magnanimous man, but you're also a humble man. And you serve as a source of inspiration, Chuck. Because for 26 years, students at School 5 would peer outside their windows and they'd see decay, decline, rubble, the wrong type of view for anyone to see. But thanks to you, students can look up to someone like yourself and say, I can make it in life because Chuck Muth started here and he ended up doing pretty well for himself in his life. One proud Pattersonian that couldn't make it today is my wife. And I never told her that Montclair State University story, by the way. But now it's on Facebook Live and every major news network. It's going to be in for a surprise. And back in 2009, I wanted to take her somewhere romantic. So I took her to a baseball stadium in Birmingham, Alabama, Rickwood Field. The other stadium still standing and hosted Negro League games. And my wife and I made a vow that if I were ever to become mayor, we would prioritize bringing Hinchliffe Stadium back to life. So in 2010, I ran for mayor, and it was a swing and a miss. 2014, there was another election. I stepped up to the plate. Guess what happened? 2 strikes. So the third time, my wife said, it's either 3 strikes and you're out, or the third time is the charm. And by the grace of God, I became mayor. And now we celebrate not only the restoration of Hinchliffe Stadium, but the fact that we're opening up the Charles J. Muth Museum so that we can tell the story of what happened here at Hinchliffe Stadium. And in between that time, my wife and I went to Kansas City, Missouri in 2011 to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. And I said that we should have our own in the city of Patterson. And I've spoken to Bob Kendrick, who couldn't make it here and sends his regrets. But I said if anyone could never make it to Missouri, they could come here to the city of Patterson and learn more about the legends. And when you walk inside and learn about the legends, one of the panels that'll really stand out was a direct quote from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he was talking to Don Newcomb, who was a pioneer with the then Brooklyn Dodgers. And he said that if it were not for Jackie Robinson, Larry Doby, Don Newcomb, and Roy Campanella, his job, meaning Dr. King, would have been harder to integrate America. To put it into perspective, in 1947, when Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in the National League on April 15th, and then when Larry Doby did it July 5th in the American League with the then Cleveland Indians, Dr. King was a teenager. So the color barrier was broken here by a Pattersonian. And that story needs to be told, and it will. When we reopened Hinchliffe Stadium, I said that this put Patterson back in the win column. Opening up this civil rights museum, because it is a civil rights museum, it keeps Patterson in the win column. And I want to thank my team. I want to thank my business administrator, who you see every Tuesday. It's like WrestleMania and Monday Night Raw, or Tuesday Night Raw, Kathleen Long. And I want to thank our erstwhile Economic Development Director, who also took a beating, Mike Powell. But there was a young man who is an Eastside High School Hall of Famer and Rutgers Hall of Famer, who said he would not join my administration unless I prioritize bringing Hinchliffe Stadium back. And that is none other than Vaughn L. McCoy. Thank you. Chuck Muth talked about me being a Mets fan. Yes, unabashed. long-suffering, with emphasis on long-suffering. We bleed orange and blue. But I also have to acknowledge our team on the City Council, because they are my partners in progress. Maritza Davila, Luis Velez, Alex Mendez, Rudy Cotton. Good. I need 5 votes, so I got That was only 4, that's true. We'd have a quorum, we don't have problems here. But I also want to acknowledge Michael Simons. Some of you may not know who he is, but he's very loud. And Michael Simons very often has an opinion, right, Michael?
Yes, I do.
And he was of the opinion many years ago that if we ever were to bring Hinchliffe Stadium back, we needed a museum. In fact, we called it the Hall at the Falls. So Michael Simons and, of course, Don Smith advocated so that we can get to this day and this moment. I want to thank the board president, Manny Martinez. We grew up together in Patterson. So you talked about vision earlier. There was an immigrant with a vision, Alexander Hamilton. And when he saw the falls, Bob Garashi, he saw the future. And what does the future hold for the city of Patterson? Well, this is all a part of a grand, ambitious vision. Because when you walk through those doors in that museum, to your left you see the Field of Dreams. To your right, you see the Great Falls. And what we have planned for the Great Falls is that ultimately you will see a river walk as a part of that Quarry Lawn project, a rooftop restaurants, other dining options to accentuate the diversity of Patterson. You see 2 buildings right in front of you that are being restored and will be reopened by August. This, Patterson, is a city of synergy. We are also a city of solutions. Patterson has always had problems, but now, with partners like Montclair State University, we're a city of solutions. And it goes without saying that we couldn't have made this happen without another MVP, a young man who grew up in the city of Patterson and ultimately stepped up for his hometown so that we could celebrate May 19, 2023, and of course, April 11, 2024. I affectionately refer to Hinchliffe Stadium as the house that Baye built. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing yet another partner in progress, Baye Adolfo Wilson. Baye's wearing a Burberry tie.
I know, right? I am not going to be as long as they were. For those who know, I grew up the hill, so we weren't really allowed to kind of hang out on this side of town that well. We get chased down, jump, so I'm going to be quick because I know where I come from. I'm just going to do some thank yous. So this project has been a huge, enormous team effort that really starts at the governor's office. The project has state tax credits, so really without the state tax credits that the Murphy administration provided for the project, it wouldn't have happened. In addition to that, that doesn't happen without our state delegation. So I see Benji Wimbledon here, they really fought for and advocated for these tax credits. And so at a time when people didn't think Patterson deserved it or Patterson should have it, they really stuck up and really continuously, and today, continuously fought for it. So they too should be given another round of applause. So obviously the mayor and all the work that he did, but also the city council members. I saw this for here at the time. Marissa was the council president, I think. Luis, Mendez, and Ruby, I think. Ruby. So they've really just been great. We go back and forth as Patterson, and I grew up here, so my skin is thick as everybody else's here. And so I just want to deal with it and let it roll off. At the end of the day, the votes happened. and we're here, right?
Yeah.
So we're at this point now, and things are just going to move forward. So I applaud their diligence. Like, they are elected to protect the citizens of Patterson, and so they should do that all the time. And so, and that doesn't have to be easy or difficult. It doesn't have to be easy, or they don't have to just vote to be voting. They have the right and the responsibility to question. So I applaud them. The school district, I see the council president, the superintendent, there's other school board members here as well. Okay, yeah, I forget. So let me stop going to names. But the school district too, and I have more to say about them later. But the school district is very important. In addition, we just have a huge financial stack. Goldman Sachs provided the bridge loan. U.S. Bank provided the financing for the new market tax credits and the historic tax credits. New Jersey Community Capital provided new market tax credits as well. And so we have this huge financial stack. The county provided the bond. I see the county commissioner here, Orlando Cruz is here as well. So the county provided the bond. And then, I have, people, the mayor talks about me, but the reality is that I have a partner, RPM, Ed Martoglio, who really carries the lion's share of the work. His senior VP, Joe Bertelli, does a lot of work. He's not here today because he had a baby girl this week, and so his third daughter. In addition to them, Bill's here, Bill Sherwood and Brian are here. Brian the GM, Bill is the GC, or one of the GCs in the project. They're here every day. They really have made sure that this project has happened. In addition to Pike Construction, Jeff, who also is the Pattersonian, give him a round of applause. CCH is here, the architects are here. Michael Panoni is here, I think. And we got to the museum portion of the project. I had to reach out to an old friend. When I was in Newark, I was working on Newark Symphony Hall, and I was trying to develop a museum of African American music. This back in 2005. And so at the time, I reached out to a company, Lord Cultural, who is the largest museum planning firm in the country, probably North America. And so Joy Bailey, I reached out to her and said, I'm trying to do this again. This is 19 years later. When she met me, my kids were in car seats, and now they're 24 and 21. They're driving me around. But really, without her and her network, the museum portion of it, the way it looks, the design, the aesthetic, it doesn't happen without Joy Bailey. So give Joy Bailey a round of applause. This project came into, we started this project almost 5 years ago today. We went before the school board, probably got our first snowball in April, May 2019. But when we really got into the financing of the project, it was in September, October, November 2020, the beginning of 2021, and the country was just very different at that point in time. It's COVID, there's no vaccine, and it's not long after George Floyd. And so we're at this moment where we're trying to tell this story about how to get this project done. And Hinchliffe kind of works. Hinchliffe is an open-air stadium, which at the time no one could imagine building a closed stadium because of how COVID spread. And then it's about Negro League Baseball and segregation on the heels of George Floyd. And so we have a story to tell about how to deal with segregation, how to deal with abuse, how to deal with people still being able to have leisure time in the context of an international pandemic. And so we told that story, and that's how all these other entities came about and began to fund the project, and been really sort of supportive of the project. That's when I reached out to Montclair State and asked them to come on board. They reached out to Chuck Muth, and it's really been an honor, really, to work with Chuck Muth and his family. The team is filled with Pattersonians. It's really filled. And I think it's one of the things that we as Pattersonians need to think about, that we're here, but we also know that we all have family members and friends who are not here, who left 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 6 months ago, but their love and commitment to Patterson is still here. And how do we take that love and commitment for Patterson to make sure that this next generation of kids learn about Patterson? I didn't know anything about the Negro League baseball teams, and I went to Tech, and I passed by here every day to go to school. And I had to go all the way around the world to come back to find out that something historic happened in my backyard. And so the museum, for the most part, is a children's museum, a young person's museum. It really tells the story of Negro League baseball so that young people can get it. I really want all the kids in Patterson, all the kids in Passaic County, Bergen County, Hudson County. I really want them to know this New Jersey story because New Jersey was central in terms of what happened with Negro League baseball, what happened in auto racing. New Jersey, Patterson was central to that. And if we don't tell that story, no one else will. And so that's how we sort of got to this point right now, where we're telling this story and we want to continue to tell this story. And it's really about the generosity and support and the infrastructure of this incredible team that this happens. And the school district, who has been our, you know, I went to school 26, so I'm a product of Patterson Public Schools, you know, and I ran track here for the old, you know, track people here. I ran for Miss James, and you know, in the 80s when you know, New Birth Track Club was a thing. And so I want those kids to learn. You know, I want them to be a part of it. And so the school district, with all the students here, the school district, the charter schools, all of them, I really want the kids here to learn so that when they go out in the world, they can say, you know what, I can come back to Patterson and contribute like Chuck Muth did. You know, that they can make a contribution, because there's a bunch of Pattersonians all around the world who are incredibly successful, but in their little pocket. We want to make sure that we, you know, send up the bat light to make sure that they know they need to come back. Bat signal. Send up the bat signal, let them know they need to come back home. So I'm here. I have to introduce the next speaker, which is Rodney Henderson. Superintendent. All right. So superintendent. So the superintendent is you know, it's always, I think in Patterson it's always like trial by fire, and so I feel like the superintendent, like everyone else here, is in it. But I'm so impressed with her. She's we overlap here, we overlap in Newark, and she has been a tremendous leader, a bunch of accomplishments, and I think the right person at the right time. You know, so let me just superintendent.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Before we get started, I just really, could you give the Rosa Parks high school students when I say the students of Patterson Public Schools just bring me pure joy. I feel that we have just exceptional students, and I wanted to also acknowledge and bring up our board president, Manny Martinez, if you could please join me. You know, the work we do is difficult, it's hard work, but we see the results, you know, from Bea up here. We have, thank you so much to Mr. Muth for his donation, and really just partnering with the mayor and soon to be president of my Red Hawk. And you know, the extension of the public school here that we have now, almost like a learning lab that extends beyond the classroom. And this is one thing that I want for all of our students, because a lot of them don't know the treasure that Patterson is. Patterson is a rich, diverse mosaic of brilliant, brilliant individuals. And so I wanted to also acknowledge, I have other board members here. I have Eddie Gonzalez. I also have Della McCall here. you know, because we are really coming together to do what we can to really bring all the resources that our students deserve. It should not be limited by zip code. We have brilliance all throughout the city, all throughout the state, and our kids need to be equipped to be as competitive as any other student across this great state. You know, I think one of the things that we overlook a lot of times when we talk about Patterson is the negativity. Patterson is a rich, rich environment, and this museum adds to what we can provide to our students. And so for everyone who's here, I have Benji Wimberly, who has been just such a fighter for our district. Thank you. Because, you know, we are putting Patterson Public Schools on the map because our staff members and our students together, we will show that we are just brilliant. And I'm so proud to be the superintendent here. I'm so proud of all the partners here as we move forward to really strengthen our school district. And at this time, I'd also like to introduce publicly my board president, because he's really been a partner in this work. President Martinez.
Thank you, Dr. Newell. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, every time that we raise the bar for our students in Patterson, they rise to the occasion and they excel. And this is just an opportunity for them to continue to demonstrate the capacity. I always say Patterson students never lacked, you know, talent, but they lacked more opportunities and resources. And this is a tremendous resource and opportunity for them. As a proud product of Montclair State University, where I did my undergrad and grad, and proud product of Patterson Public Schools, I couldn't be more thrilled to be a part of this, you know, this morning. And you know, to Mr. Muth and your family, we thank you. And this museum truly is a cherry on the top of the Great Falls Historic District. You know, we have a national park, a historic stadium, and now a museum where our citizens, our residents, our students can come every single day. And this is the learning laboratory that just continues to grow and expand. So we thank you all for being here, and let's go Patterson.
At this time, Ms. Jessica Bush.
You guys, you noticed my shoes.
Yes.
And if you've been here for the morning, you would know. But I've been very proud of these, so. So it's always lovely to go last because I don't know who else to thank. I was gonna thank Bill and Brian, but I did. Thank you guys anyway. They make my day-to-day way easier than it should be. I also wanna thank Brian Murdoch, Associate Vice President of Community Engagement. When I stepped into the role of director of this museum, I came in sort of after it had been developed, and sort of with a blank slate in front of me, and he gave me all the resources and all the power to move forward, so thank you. Dave Kaplan, who served as interim director of the museum. I said this morning, I know it's gonna sound cliche, but I am batting cleanup. Thank you, Dave. I did it.
Yeah, you're not wearing your Jorge Posada shirt, please.
I'm a Yankees fan.
Oh.
Yesterday I knew the mayor was going to show up, so I wore my Jorge Posada shirt just for him. So I've been on board for about 4 months, and I was getting ready for this day. I knew this day was a very important day. April 11th was the day that this museum would open. But I know that my job starts tomorrow. April 12th is the day that I make sure that this museum succeeds. And with all of you out here in this audience, I know that I have the resources, I have the backing, I have the manpower, I have Montclair State University, I have the city of Patterson, my friends in the cultural institutions, Darren Bach, Heather Garside, Kelly Raffel is somewhere in the back over there. She's the director of, hi Kelly, she's also my best friend. She is the director of the Department of Cultural and Historic Affairs here in Passaic County. So I know that I have the backing and I know that I have the resources, and I won't let you down. So thank you all very much. With that being said, We do have a wonderful video that was produced for this museum. Steve McCarthy and his son Ryan are somewhere here with Montclair State, produced this amazing video that talks about the history of Patterson, and it's called The Comeback. And I thought that was really wonderful because it talks about the history of the stadium, what happened with the stadium, and where the stadium is today and where it's going. So the reason why we invited the Rosa Parks High School Choir here today was because they are part of that video. And in that video they sing "Take Me Out to the Ballgame." So I'm going to ask them to come back up so that they can perform for you.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back, for it's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame, a shame. It's 1, 2, 3. You're out at the old baseball old ball game. Do do ya do 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 ya do 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 Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back, for it's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. It's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old. It's such an exciting game. Play ball!
Okay, so I believe we are ready for the official ribbon cutting. If you want to make your way out towards the front of the entrance of the stadium.
Well, this is an amazing day today because we opened the museum right on the stadium, right on Hinchliffe Stadium, and because of the council collaboration and the mayor collaboration, the shared vision is the reason why we're here with this amazing museum. And our children, this is going to be a tremendous contribution and support for our children, for our students. I'm very excited to see our elementary and high school students learning from the Negro League Baseball, coming into this museum and learning. So we're looking forward to just keeping the work and moving the city forward. This is the victory for our children of the great city of Patterson and for the great city of Patterson. We're making history today.
This is Councilman Louis Velez from the great city of Patterson. Listen, when you look to the right, to the left, behind us, in front of us, we make history today. Opening this museum for the legacy of the people that paved the road for us, and to the future coming in front of us, that they could see the history of Patterson. Congratulations, Patterson. Congratulations, Hinchliffe Stadium. Congratulations to this museum.
Hi, my name is Ruby Cotton. I'm here today in the grand opening of the Charles Muth Museum, which is the museum for the Negro League that was here in the city of Patterson. You know, it is absolutely beautiful. It's wonderful. I just want to say thank you to Mr. Charles Muth for donating the money that we can put this museum in for the Negro League, that we want to still recognize, and we want our kids to recognize what happened in the city of Patterson going back 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years. So thank you again. If you can, please come down here and enjoy this museum and see what it is, the Negro League Museum here at Hinchliffe Stadium. God bless you all. Thank you.